The teacher's job is to pass on to you the knowledge. Your job then is to study and to read and to write. And you know what? Knowledge is power. And where do you obtain that knowledge? In school, by reading. So then you could say again, yes, Mr. Torres, for I'm still very young and I like to play. And I like to participate in the sports of my chosen. That's very good. But you know what? The one thing then that you must learn is to organize your life so you could play, so you could watch TV, so you could play in the internet, so you could go to the theater. But you should also be thinking of your homework and reading, because when you read, the more you read, the better you're going to get at it. And the better you read, the better that you're going to do in whatever subject it is that you want to. The better you do in school in general terms, and then whatever subject you decide to study. Now, I was reading in a magazine the other day, and I came across a very interesting story. This young lady is a Mexican young lady. Her name is Ana Escobedo Cabral. Ana Escobedo Cabral is the daughter of a very, very poor family in Mexico. Her father and her mother, both of them had less than 5th grade education. And her father used to earn his living by collecting garbage in the streets in a pushcart and seeking out things that he could turn into money. They were extremely poor. But you know what? Ana Escobedo Cabral was a very little young girl, and she had a dream. She wanted to grow up and become an employee of the White House. And her peers used to laugh at her. How could you be dreaming of being an employee of the White House? Look at what your father is doing to earn his living. You're too poor. You're Mexican. Come on, wake up. But Ana Escobedo Cabral believed in herself. And Ana Escobedo Cabral, everything she did was always geared toward accomplishing her dream. And that meant she wanted to be educated. She wanted to go through all the years of education and make sure that she read a lot and make sure that her grades were good. I'm sure that all of you have seen a $1 bill. This is an enlarged photograph of a dollar bill. Every dollar bill is signed by the Treasurer of the United States. I like to invite our photographer, our press coordinator, Janina. Please come to the front. Now, will you read the signature in this dollar bill for me?
Ana Escobedo Cabral.
Ana Escobedo Cabral is the Treasurer of the United States. Ana Escobedo Cabral, therefore, is an employee of the White House. And you know what's very interesting? As I glance around this room to my right and to my left, I see a lot of Ana Escobedo Cabral in this audience. Don't ever allow the color or of your skin or your country of origin impede you from dreaming and dream big. The bigger you dream, the more you're going to have to work at it. But you know what? Ana Escobedo Cabral is part of our history today. And so each one of you could be part of our history, because don't kid yourself. Each and every one of you do have the potential to accomplish whatever it is that you want to accomplish in your life. Don't let the color of your skin and don't let your country of origin be on your way. You're always going to find people to discourage you. But life is about challenges. As a matter of fact, when I go from school to school and I invite the audiences to write an essay, they were not as nice as you were just before. Some of them make all kinds of faces, all kinds of noises. But then they have a challenge in front of them. And I've always told them, you are invited to write an essay. You don't have to accept the invitation. However, life is about choices and consequences. You are invited and you don't have to accept the invitation. Shall you choose not to accept the invitation, in essence what's going to happen is that you are denying yourself the opportunity to be invited to dinner with your parents and your teachers and your school principal and your school CEO, and you're going to have a grand night, and your speaker today are going to be there. She's going to be there to present 3 of you with a plaque. So, how many of you, where are the 3 people that I'm going to, and this is going to be in June 16. Is that it, Janina? In New Jersey, 22nd? June 22nd? June 22nd. 3 of you are going to be invited to dinner. Where are the 3 people that are going to be invited to dinner June 22nd? Terrific. I could see some hand. Very good. I like that. And you know what? Let me tell you, sometimes your essays are so good that our commission, which is comprised of educators and school administrators, sometimes they find it hard to select just 3, and then we select 5. So let's see what's going to happen. In the meantime, it gives me a great pleasure to call to the podium a very dear friend, a young lady that works very hard for the community, for herself, and I'm going to let her talk about herself. Let's welcome Rosa Lopez. Rosa Paulina Lopez.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is a great pleasure to be here today, and I want to tell you, I work for PSE&G. Anybody knows what PSE&G is? Public service, good, public service, electric and gas. And I want to tell you how I got there. It hasn't been easy, you know. It's, as you go to school and you go and learn, you know, your teachers, what your teacher are trying to teach you, and as you grow in being a better person, and school is one of the things that are important to you, and they should be. And it should be something that should be in your priorities right now. You know, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm going to start to tell you where I come from. And later on, I want to tell you why it's important to go to school. I was born and raised in San Juan, Puerto Rico. I am Boricua. Some of you know what Boricua is? You do. Okay, good. Some Boricuas in the room. So I'm Boricua, born, raised. I went to school. I went to a private school all my life. My parents, my father is Cuban descent. He came to Puerto Rico in 1959. Met my mother, and I was born right after that. My mother was Puerto Rican, born and raised in Puerto Rico. My father was a well-educated individual. My father went to school, like all of you, had a high school diploma, went to college. He went to study accounting. So he graduated from La Escuela de Comercio de Havana, Cuba. My father was fully bilingual. He spoke English and Spanish back in Cuba. My mother, let me tell you a little bit about my mother. My mother was born and raised in Puerto Rico, but she didn't have that luck that my father did. My mother came from a very humble upbringing. She was the oldest of 12 kids. My mother was the one that, the joke of the family was that she always ended with the bone of the chicken because there was not enough food for everybody. So that's why she doesn't like chicken anymore. You're supposed to laugh. Good. So I want to make sure you're with me. Good. So she doesn't, she was very hard for her as she was growing up to actually have something, toys. She didn't know what toys were. She didn't have really a lot of things. When I met my father on the other hand had everything. He had an education, he had a good upbringing, he had an opportunity to study. But when he met my mother, he realized my mother was an excellent woman, but my mother didn't have the opportunities that he had. So she helped her. And I'm going to tell you that I'm very, very proud that sometime in 1995, I believe, I went to my mother's college graduation. So it took my mother a long time, but my mother went back to school. She finished her high school, she finished her college, and I was personally, as a grown-up woman, I was in my mother's college graduation. And I was very, very proud of her to see my mother being able to accomplish that in her life. I'm telling you that because some of you may finish your grade here in 8th grade and you may go to high school. Some of you may decide that you don't want to go to school. So there's never late to pick up the pieces where you left off. And she's a living proof of that. My mother decided, had me and then I had my sisters, only 2 sisters. Both of us had the best education. My father always a firm believer, as his upbringing was, that education was key. So my family, being that my father came from Cuba, he didn't have money, she didn't have money. So my family, we had very few furniture in the house, not a lot of furniture. We had a bed, we had a sofa, we had the necessities, but we didn't have a lot of nice things. But we had the best education. Like I said, my mother directed all the money that would come into the house to pay for my sister and I best education, and she did. What that did is that we both ended the high school diploma, we both graduated from high school, we all received high honors in high school, we also went to college. My sister currently lives in Florida, she has 2 children, and she is currently doing her master's. She wants to become a speech therapist. She has a college degree already from University of Puerto Rico, as I do too. I went to school for psychology. I wasn't too sure what I wanted to do. So, a lot of times, and you probably some of the teachers can relate to me, you decide what do you want to do. You go to college, you're doing there and you're not sure if you're good at science, you're not really sure what you want. So I always like to help people. I always knew that I needed to go into a profession that would get me closer to people. So that's why I decided to go for psychology. I graduated, magna cum laude from University of Puerto Rico. What that means is that I had more than 3.82 grade point average out of the scale of 4. So I actually, concentrated my school. I'm not going to tell you and I'm going to lie to you that I didn't like boys, because I did. And I did have time to do both. So I did my school first, and then I went out when I had to go and have a good time. I love to dance. I have a daughter that she's 21 years old now. She's 21 years old. I have a son that is 6 years old. I have a girl and a boy. And my daughter and I, we love having a good time. But we both are very sure and we're always very focused on what's important to us. For her right now, she's in her 3rd year of college. You know what happens to her grades? You know what happens to her grades? No different than happened to me. My daughter is a 3.8 grade point average in Coldwell College. What I did for my daughter is what my father and my mother did for me. Provided me with the right tools so I could succeed in life. But like when Mrs. Torres said, it's a choice. It's your choice to decide if you want to take, what your parents want you to do is go to school, learn something so you can become a better person and have a better quality of life for yourself and for the ones around you. Well, I say the ones around you because my sister and I, even though she lives in Florida and I live here, we help each other all the time. Like when she needs something, I'll supply her. She needs me to watch over her kids, she sends them over, or vice versa. We support each other, and that's what a family is all about. I come from a very close, tight family, very small. Like I said, it was my mother, my father, and my sister and I. A very small family, but we had that closeness that is key in our community, is key for us as individuals, and family is supposed to be there to support you. But you also have to support them. So it's a win-win. It's for both of you. In addition to going to school and having a good time and enjoying life, because you can do that as you do that, it is very, very, very important that you don't limit yourself. When my father came from Cuba to the United States, or to Puerto Rico in this case, he always said this to me as I was a little girl. And he says to me, don't ever forget that 100 by 35, and if somebody was in the room would know, that's the dimensions of Puerto Rico, 100 miles by 35 miles. He said, never set your goals don't limit yourself to those, just to the island. Think big. Think that one day you're going to be able to leave Puerto Rico and you come to the United States if you want to do that, or go to Spain, or go to Europe, go to any schools. You don't have to study here. Do you know that there's scholarships? There's a lot of scholarships for us minorities all over. I get emails every single day. Scholarships available for minority students to go to any schools, not only here in the United States, but outside of the United States. So don't be afraid of the money situation. And if you're good and you play any type of sports, that's going to even be better. I have several friends, so some of her kids with full scholarships, with the sports, and they're actually, having the whole college paid off completely by the scholarship. Important, don't limit yourself where you at right now, because you can be someplace else. You don't have to be here in the school all the time. You can actually be in another school if you decide to do that. You can actually go to college here in New Jersey, but you can go to college in another place, Washington, D.C. Now, my daughter's looking into her master's program because she wants to be an occupational therapist. And she's looking at Florida, she's looking at Texas, she's looking at different places. She actually went to Columbia University. Columbia is a very expensive school. So I said to her, how are we going to pay this? You know what she says to me? Mom, I have good grades. Hopefully I can get some scholarships. If I don't get a scholarship, don't worry about it. I take loans, so she takes responsibility over her action. I take loans, and at the end, I will pay them back. And you know, my daughter doesn't talk like that. And my son, one day, hopefully, will talk like that too. Because I'm telling her that, I'm showing her with my own eyes the priorities. You know, as a parent, it's important for us to teach you well. Some parents, I'm going to tell you, some parents are better than others. Some children are better than others. You know, because even within a big family, you see these differences between one and the other. But it doesn't matter if your parent can support you the way that my parents support you. It doesn't matter. Right now, it's your decision. A day like today is your decision. You can make a decision, you know, based on what Rosa is telling me tonight, or today, this afternoon. I'm going to make a decision that I'm going to do good in school. I'm going to listen to my teachers, because they're there to guide you. And listen, if your teacher tried to teach you something and you don't understand, because it happened to me when I was in 7th and 8th grade, I'm going to tell you what my parents said for me. I told them, I don't understand. I really don't know how to do this math calculation. They sent me to remedial classes. So I'm here today to tell you that even if you're having a hard time in the subject, just don't walk away from it. Stay focused in the class. Try to get some help. If your teacher can't help you or you don't understand, I'm sure the school will have other programs that will guide you where you have to go to get that help. You need to learn everything. Every day you got to learn something. You can't leave your classroom without feeling that you learn something every day. I do that every day in my office, you know. That's pretty much my sister, my family, okay? Let me tell you how I became, I work for PSCNG, and my main job is to outreach to folks or people, individuals and families that cannot pay their energy bills, energy assistance and energy conservation. Before, I've been with PSCNG 7 years. Prior to that, I worked with an agency named Paco. Anybody knows what Paco is? Good. I know I recognize this young lady. As I'm talking, I'm looking at her face, and I know your mother, all right? Yeah, Carmen. I remember now. I worked with Paco for 3 years. And in there, what did I do? I worked with energy assistance programs. So, learning about energy assistance program in Paco, I met someone, and that person said to me, you know, there is a position at PSCNG, and I have seen how well you have done working in Hudson County with the people that have problems with their bills, and I would like your resume. So she took my resume that day, took it back to PSCNG, and later on, after I was hired by PSCNG, I was told that they had 40 people had applied internally, meaning inside of the company, for that position. And they didn't select anybody internally. They selected me to work in that department. You don't think that's, you know, that just doesn't happen. I mean, what happens is that you earn your merits, you prove yourself, you go to school, and when you prove yourself, then people in the community, people who see you, even your teachers, I'm sure they'll see within your class, they will see who really wants to succeed, who really wants to do better every day. Very key, very important that you have to learn something new every day and make sure what you learn, put it in practice the next day. Also, very, very, very important and has been very key to me, to my effort and to my work at PSCNG. Relationships. It is important for you at your age that you start building new relationships, new friends. You know, your teacher's your friend, but also even within yourself, you know, you can help each other, okay? Also find help within your school so you can get ahead. So again, I have highlighted a couple things. I'm just going to summarize. So you see, make sure some of you may want to go out to dinner. No? Some of you raise your hand. So I'm just going to try to help you through the key points. No? Very important that you don't limit yourself. Don't think of where you're at right now is where you're going to be, you know, or where you have to be. in the future. Also, very important, learn everything, or every day you have to learn something and put it in practice the next day, okay? The other thing I wanted to tell you, I came here from Puerto Rico because I was hired by the U.S. government. The General Accounting Office goes to Puerto Rico to recruit minorities, Hispanics, to come to the United States. And again, I was selected to come here in an internship program, like in Calaba's intern co-op program is called, that is like a work and go school program for 26 weeks. And I was recruited to come here with 5 other students. Remember that we're going to be selecting only 3? So I was 5 out of hundreds of people that I was selected to come to New York. I worked in New York for 12 years. I traveled all over the States. I did program evaluations, I did audits, I learned something new every 6 months in my previous job, and that really gave me self-confidence. And you need to build that self-confidence. You need to be sure what you want to do. You need to be sure that you know what you want to do in the future. And if you don't know, get some help. There's counselors, at all different levels in the education system that'll be able to guide you. It's important that you know, so you don't waste, your time and picking a subject matter and then later on changing again, okay? So that way you know exactly what you want. Be determined. Be very determined on what you want to do in the future, where you want to be in the future, and what you like to do in the future. Does anybody has any questions on what I have said so far, especially those that are going to be writing the essays? Do you want to ask me any questions? Anybody? You don't have to come to the mic. You can yell from there. Yes. Can you stand up? Yeah, please. I can hear you. Johnny, he wants to know when he's writing the essay, if he can pick any subject to talk about.
No, the subject is about this program.
Okay, the subject is about this program. That's why I'm highlighting for some of you that are going to be writing things that should be captured in that essay. Good question. Anybody else? Give me your name, please. Lawrence? I can't hear you. Don't be shy. Listen, we're all friends here. Everybody here belongs to the same school. Come on, guys. Come on.
His question was, who is he going to give the essay to?
Okay, you're going to give it to your teacher. Okay, so your teacher is going to be giving you a document, piece of paper, that you're going to be writing your essay. Okay, your teacher in turns is going to give it to Mr. Johnny Torres, and Johnny Torres, they have a committee, and that committee is going to be making the selection. I have another question back there. Anybody can do that?
The maximum amount of paragraphs in the essay.
The maximum number of words or whatever. Johnny, if you want to answer.
Should have not less than 150 words, not more than 250 words.
It is easy. I've been talking, and I'm here to answer any questions that you may have. You got enough? I'm here to answer any questions that you can write about. Any other questions? Any other questions? Yes. He wants to know when he needs to get it in by. Next 10 days. You got 10 days. You have a long weekend coming up, am I right? Yes, go off Friday. I heard that when I came in. You guys are lucky you off Friday. And we all off Monday. So you got 4 days. Even if you spend a couple hours over the weekend just writing it up, you should be able to do it. questions. I want to share with you something before I turn over the mic to Johnny Torres. When you do things in the community, I do a lot of volunteer work. Something else you can write about. Volunteer work is very, very important, and I do a lot of volunteer work. I volunteer with the March of Dimes. I'm a team captain for PSCNG. I recruit people. Some of the people here, including Save Latin America, supported my team this year at PSCNG. And actually, that was highlighted in PSCNG newsletter. We have an internal communication to employees, and it was highlighted. And my picture is here. My father passed away about 20 years ago. So he's not around anymore. But I'm sure where he's at right now, he knows that he must be very proud not only of me and my sister, but also of my accomplishments and my work in the community. My parents taught me as I was growing up to volunteer, to give free time to the community. And I'm not doing anything different that he didn't tell me. He showed me the way. He volunteered. He was a treasurer for the Borinquen Lions Club in the town Trujillo Alto in Puerto Rico. So what do I do now? I volunteer with the Jersey City Borinquen Lions Club in Jersey City. I volunteer with the March of Dimes. I sit on boards of hospital. I sit on the board, the Greenville Hospital Board in Jersey City. I live in Jersey City. No one asked me where I live. I live in Jersey City, and I live in the Greenville area. I just bought a house. I just bought a house about a month ago. Have taken me a long time to get this house, but I was able to do it. It doesn't matter how long it takes you, as long as you reach your dream. And you need to stay focused what your dream is all about, and don't ever let anybody steal your dream. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you, Rosa. Thank you very much. Let's hear very hard for Rosa. Rosa was saying something very important. She said you should learn something new every day. And I'm sure that you do learn something new every day. Let me go. Now let me tell you, I came to this country from Puerto Rico when I was 14 years of age. We're talking about challenges before? Try coming from Puerto Rico when you're 14. I'm going to live in a little township. It was a village, it wasn't even a town, called Lake Ronkonkoma. That's about 100 miles away from here. And I went to school and I was being the only Hispanic in the whole school and not knowing how to speak English. At that time, we didn't have the programs we have today. And it was very challenging when my peers, all my school, all the school kids were laughing at me because I didn't know how to speak English. Then, a year later, they laugh at me. By now I know how to speak English, but I was speaking English with an accent. And that was a challenge. It was a challenge because I couldn't change the fact that I was speaking English with an accent. So one day I went home and I said to myself, all right, they laugh at me first because I didn't know how to speak their language. Now they're laughing at me because I'm speaking with an accent. How do I change this? Well, I thought about it and I said to myself, I am going to become the best student in every class, in every subject that I take. And then suddenly homework became like sacred to me. You couldn't attract me to do anything after school immediately except my homework. And then things began to change, because those who laugh at me now used to come to me seeking answers, especially when they was confronted with any kind of test. I used to go to my test, 1, 2, 3, out, finish, 100. I became the #1 student in every classroom that I went ever after, including New York University, where I graduated with honors. I had another challenge. I was always the smallest one in my classroom. And you know what? Because I was the smallest one in my classroom, I was very attractive to the bullies. Very attractive. So one day I said to myself, I can't be the victim. So you know what I did? About 20 miles away from my town, I wasn't even in town, it was a village, I discovered a judo school. So I went and registered myself and I took judo. You know what? Suddenly, my attraction to the bullies disappeared. What am I telling you this? Telling you this because if you want to learn something new today, the one thing that you should take with you is that life is about choices and consequences and challenges. You are constantly challenged by something. And you should have a program to attack or to deal with those challenges. Your weak subject is math. You know what I'll do? I'll dedicate a lot of time to math. I'll study and study until I become the #1 in math. Because there isn't anything that you cannot handle if you set your mind to it. And you may be weak in math or history or whatever, but that is because you're not really paying attention to it. That is because you're not really into it. That's the only reason. It has nothing to do with your intellect. You have the intellectual capacity to do whatever it is that you want to do in life. So that's one thing that you should learn today. That you do have challenges and don't ever feel victim. All you have to do is simply go at those challenges, accept them as that, as a challenge. It means you have to work a little harder, you have to pay more attention, because it isn't a question of not being able to handle. Anybody tells you that you can't handle math or English or science or whatever, nonsense. Nonsense. Of course you can handle it. Put your effort into it. And now it gives me a great pleasure to introduce to you a young man by the name of Eric Queen. He is a fitness consultant with a life coach, Body Forever. He is, let's give him a big round of applause.
Hi, first of all, I want us to stand up, please. Stand up. You ready? Yeah, I know you're tired, you want to go home, and you want to do all that fun stuff. Sit down. Look. Taking forever to sit. Stand up. my name is Eric Coyne, like they said just now. I'm supposed to talk about my life and why I have to stay in school and all that fun stuff. So what I'm gonna tell you is, first of all, I'm from Panama. Do any of you know where Panama is? You know where Panama is? Oh, that's weird because nobody knows where Panama is. You do? Where Panama is? And there you forgot where Panama is, right? I came to this country when I was like, yeah, where's Panama? Tell me. Huh? Central America, yes, it's part South and part Central America, yeah. We used to belong to Colombia and all that fun stuff, but anyway. All right, listen up. Thank you. Thank you. I came to this country when I was like about 13, 14, and it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy actually. I had to go through a lot of stuff to begin with the language, because my parents are from Jamaica and Panama, and the kind of English I spoke, it was like very much West Indian English. So it was hard for me to communicate here. But guess what? I did what I could. You know why? To begin with, because I wanted to be a part of the community. I wanted to be in sports. I wanted to do a lot of those fun stuff I like doing. And I learned to speak English and went to school, like all of you here. And when I was in school, I said, why am I gonna stay in school? It's easy because I wanted to play sports. Yeah, I got injured and all that stuff, and I couldn't play sports because I got injured. But the main reason for playing sport, to begin with, is like this. If you want to go to professional sports, if you want to do professional sports, if you see them, you see that like 90% of them are coming out of college. So it's not like you're going to jump from high school to pro sports. So don't think like, okay, I'm going to stay in school just for a little bit and then I'm going to jump to pro, for the guys especially. It doesn't work like that. If you see Kobe Bryant and stuff like that, it's like 1% of all the sports people that make it to the pros. Besides that, no, you gotta stay in school. Why you gotta stay in school? I want you to help me out here. I want you to tell me why you gotta stay in school. Why you gotta stay in school? Yeah, look at that kid smile. Come on, tell me. What? Education, the main reason, yes. Huh? To be some of your life, I'm gonna tell you something else. Education opens the door to a lot of new things, to a lot of different things. The more you study, the more opportunity you have to do the things you want to do. Don't get me wrong. You want to go to school and you want to study something you want to study. Okay? You don't want to go to school and just be somebody else, like, just following what other people do. You don't want to do that. You want to go to school and you want to study something you really like. So as you study, you're going to find that school opens the door to all that stuff, to understanding what you really want inside. Am I right? You're like, I don't know if it's right or not, but I'm listening. Are you listening? Are you listening? Yeah. Are you listening? Yeah. Stand up, please. Stand up, please. Everybody, up, up, up. All right, you can sit now. Thank you. And I went to college, and I majored in athletic training and human performance. What that does, it helps me work with teams. I had the opportunity to work for some of the New York Yankees. I had the opportunity, if you know Mariano Rivera, you know him? Well, I had the opportunity to work for him, to work with him actually. I had the opportunity to work with some of the Major League people, Major League Soccer, and football too. And it's fun. It's a lot of fun. But for me to get there, I had to go to school, I had to study, I had to fight with my teachers, etc., etc. But I stayed in school. I stayed in school, I studied. No, I wasn't the best one in school, no. My grades were okay, good enough to pass, but I stayed in school. I stayed in school, study, again, study some more when I finished school, went to college, study some more when I finished college, went to college again to get another degree in air traffic control. Do you know what's air traffic control? Any of you know what's air traffic control? What is it? Yeah. Stand up. Come on, man, you're too young for that. Come on, stand up. They don't know you're here. What's your name? Chris? All right, Chris, what's up? Exactly. Air traffic control, you in a control tower in the airport, and you direct the planes and stuff, and you tell the planes where to land, where to move, and where not to move. And I find it fun. I find it fun doing the things I like doing. So if you look inside of you, think about what are the things that you want to do. Think about all those fun stuff. Think about the dancing. I know some of you like dancing here. If you want to be a pro dancer, it's just not about dancing. You also got to go to school for that. If you want to be in music, you want to be a singer, there's a school for that too. So don't even think like, no, I'm just gonna sing and I'm gonna be on TV and I'm gonna be whatever. For whatever, even to sweep the floor now, you gotta go to school. Because they're just not gonna hire you if you don't even go to school for that. And whatever you do, just try to do the best you can. Whatever you do, be the best in whatever you're doing. You guys are hungry, right? You gotta go to the bathroom? Oh my God. What? What? I just came from lunch. Okay, I'm gonna let you now ask me whatever you want. I got a couple of minutes for you, so tell me. Yes. I can hear you. I what? Oh, how did I get injured? Okay, I was training actually to play pro football. And as I was training, I decided I wanted to run uphill, thinking that I was gonna run faster. But no, it didn't happen. Actually, I injured my left knee. And though I injured myself, I went to pro camp and did pretty well, but I couldn't do more because my knee wasn't there. My knee was pretty swollen and stuff, and it wasn't fun to do it. But I went anyway. That's the whole point of this stuff. You still do it. I was hurt. Coach could see in my face I was hurt, but I still went. Questions? Yes? Over here. I know you got questions. Come on. Ask me. Ask me. Smiley. Talk to me. Yes? How old am I? I'm 36 years old. Yes, I can be you that, right? Yeah. Questions? I look 50? Yes. Can't hear you. You gotta get up. I can't hear you. No, actually I work with a lot of more baseball players. Mariano, I'm gonna tell you something about Mariano. Every time I had to work with him, he was the first one in the stadium. Every time I went to work with him, he got there before me and before the whole team. So that's discipline. And you see where Mariano is, one of the best pitchers in the major league. And he didn't just get there just because. He was very disciplined. Very disciplined. So if you want to make it there, if you want to make it whatever you want to make it, you got to have discipline. And how's that? Well, you stay in school and you keep studying, and as you study, as you stay in school, you're going to keep opening the doors to more things. And you're going to come to find out what's that thing that you want to do. Questions? Silence. No? What? No questions? Stand up, please. She said it. She wanted you to stand up. It's her fault. Everybody stand up. All right, let's try. Let's do some. All right, listen. You don't need to yell. You don't need to scream. Stand up. Stand up. You too. Stand up. Come on. Everybody stand up. Yeah, we're gonna do exactly what he's doing back there. Be hands up, everybody. Everybody hands up. Everybody hands up. Both hands up. Both hands up. All right, listen up. Listen up. You don't need to scream. You don't need to be so loud. You don't need to be so loud. How about we just put your hands up and stretch. I know you're tired and stuff, so let's stretch. Let's stretch. Everybody stretch up. All right, sit down now. I'm gonna tell you one important thing. There's three kind of people in life. The one, when you tell them to do something, they don't do it. The next one, when you tell them to do something, they just do what you tell them to do. And the third one, when you tell them to do something, they do what you tell them to do and a little more. Just like telling you to do these little things, I can already tell what's going on here. So think about that stuff. Think about doing a little more of the things you like. Think about doing a little more of whatever your teacher is telling you to do. Why is that? Why do I want to do more? I just want to finish school and get out of here. Is that right? You want to finish school and that's it. Tired of that stuff. Why am I telling you this? Guess what? The same thing you're doing here is the same thing you're going to do outside. The same thing you're going to do when you go to work, find a job, a summer job or whatever. It's the same thing you're going to do. Exactly the same thing. So how about we start now thinking on all the things we do? How about we start now thinking on all the things we like doing? How about we start now thinking on all the things we like to do? You want to think about it? You want to think about it? Excuse me. Yeah. You want to think about it? Yeah, you feel ashamed now, right? Do you want to think about it, yes or no? I can hear you, yes or no? I can hear you, yes or no? I can hear you, yes or no? You, yes or no? See, that's what happened. That's what happened. That's exactly what I'm talking about. It's not that difficult. Yes or no? Yes, of course. I know you want to do good in life, right? Whatever. Things that you don't really need. What you need drugs for? For what? I can't hear you. Kill yourself. That's it. That's all you can do. That's all you're gonna do. You use drugs, you kill yourself. That's it. I had in every single corner in Harlem, there were people selling drugs. Every single corner. Just bullets flying all over the place every night and day. Police chasing people, etc., etc. And I know you go through all of that stuff too. Maybe it's not that bad over here. I hope not. It is? It is? I should go to school in Jersey City. You should go to school in Harlem. Oh, okay. Did I know I went to school in George Washington High School in the city? I'm new to New Jersey, actually. I moved here like a year ago. Don't know much about Jersey, but I know about the city because I'm from the city. Harlem. You know where Harlem is? Do you know where Harlem is? Good. You know how the neighborhood is, right? Well, guess what? It's very nice now. Well, so imagine how was it before. You say, no, it's not. So imagine how was it before. Graffiti all over the place. Etc., etc. Well, I want to thank you for the time. Just remember, if you want to get there, just do it, all right? Stay in school. Thanks, guys.